And coming up to date, just recently had Caroline Catz do her docudrama, or what do you call it, David? Your docu...
I call it a docu-fantasia.
I prefer that one. Well, people may not realise Caroline Catz is also a wonderful actress, and most people probably know her from Doc Martin, playing Doc Martin's wife. So it's quite strange to see her in this context. And I've heard an interview with her. Like you, like me, she is nuts about Delia Derbyshire.
Yeah, that's been a labour of love for Caroline.
Yeah,
I mean, she's worked on that film in different forms for over 10 years. I can remember when she first came to visit. I think we'd on the archive had barely been in Manchester. I hadn't been there that long, and it wasn't where it is now. Is in the John Ryan's Library on Deansgate, and anybody can go there to visit. You know, you don't need to be an academic to go in. So all the tips, bar one, have been digital. Yeah, but anybody can go along, and a lot of artists have been going there and listening to the stuff and reading the notes, and that includes Cosey Fanni Tuti, who does the score for Caroline's film.
Yes.
Which is great score, you know. So Caroline came up, and I remember she came with Julian Barrett actually, and they had to listen to some things and looking through the paper documents. And so she gradually was developing it, and it was a short film first, I think around about maybe like 20 minutes. And then that short film played at the London British Film Institute Film Festival. I think that gave the project a bit more profile. And so it got from there, she got Rook Films on board, and they really pushed it forward, and it became a feature. And actually the version that's on the BBC Arena, that's a BBC cut, because her cut's even longer than that, but because of the broadcast, because they needed whatever it is, like a 90-minute.
What's the full-length version?
The full-length version, there's a theatrical release, or like a festival cut, which was shown at London, and that was about 15-20 minutes more. Caroline would tell you there's an even longer version.
All right.
The stuff that she really was loath to to leave out.
Yeah, it's called The Myths and the Legendary Tapes.
One of the things I love about it is it's got the spirit of Delia in it. So just as the Radiophonic Workshop were often using found sounds and repurposing sounds, in that film you'll see that they often have the same actors doubling and trailing up and playing multiple characters. And if you think of that almost like as a Radiophonic Workshop technique of actors sort of just repurposing them.
And isn't this the first time we've actually seen someone play Delia Derbyshire? Quite possibly.
No, she's cropped up. She's turned up in a few things.
Oh, she?
Yeah, there's been a handful of plays about her. There's a brilliant one by what was Noctium Theatre, called Hymns for Robots. That was done about 3 years ago, and that toured around. There was one in Glasgow about 15 years ago, and there's been a radio drama version of her. She pops up very briefly in Mark Gatiss's. On the Doctor Who. Yeah, I know the one you mean. Yeah, she does. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, she's there very briefly.
Yeah, it's got David Bradley as playing
William Hartnell.
Hartnell. Yeah,
first Doctor. Yeah, and there are actually. I know there are other sort of projects in development.
This is like the first. But this is like the first major one, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. I think on television or in film, because there's been theatre and radio, and I really like that Caroline doesn't try to do an impersonation of her. It tries to get the spirit of her.
Because we were talking a bit earlier about a working class girl from Coventry, and she has her accent is obviously very, it does sound very upper class. As you're thinking, well, where's that Coventry accent? And how did she lose it somewhere, or did? Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the documents in the archive is actually her elocution exam results.
Oh, I see.
So she got a scholarship to go up to Cambridge, and again, you imagine working class person going up to Cambridge. A lot of stigma on you in the 1950s. Back then, there still is now. Not just going to Oxbridge, any university. That sense of that's not a place for me. I was the first person in our family to go away to universities. It's not because my parents, my mum and my dad, it wasn't an option for them. When they were young adults. Yeah, so it's an interesting thing, her voice, because when you listen to it, you can hear traces of the Midlands in there. And I think when a lot of people do dramatize her, like Dick and Dom on Absolute Genius did an episode of Absolute Genius where Delia was one of the, and they had like an animated Delia on there, and they gave her this really brief encounter, cut glass RP accent, and that's not what she's got. She's got this strange, you can tell it's an accent that's been crafted, sculpted.
Yes, yeah.
It's been worked on. So again, I like it when people don't go for the really the stereotypical Brideshead revisited accent, because that's not actually what she had. Anyway, so I think it's a beautiful film, and it doesn't try to claim that it knows all the answers. It's still, it gives Delia that agency, that we're not pretending that we know everything about you, that there's still mysteries there that really only Delia knows the truth of. And then Cosey Fanni Tuti's score, which I've seen that some people have put on Wikipedia that it's made from samples of Delia's archive. I know Cosey would like to correct that was listening to a lot of the archive audio, but that was his inspiration.
Inspiration, right? Yeah.
And then she generated her own sounds for it. She felt like to be in dialogue with Delia would be to work like her, basically. So there's a lot of Delia stuff in it, but not in Cosey's score, which is fabulous. So it's a lot to enjoy about that film. And then I love the image of Delia slowly going around on a bicycle. And what I like about that, and again, some people watching go, what's that? It's just like random thing. And for me, it was like, that's just like Delia going her own way, in a way that she's got her own rhythm of doing things. And, one of the reasons that she had some problems with the synthesizers that were coming in the 70s was, I think that the kind of logic at the BBC, the Radiophonic Workshop, was when they got the synthesizers in, they were really struggling as a facility. As they become more successful, more and more producers, directors want to go to the workshop to commission them for BBC productions. So there's more demand being placed on them. And by the time you get to the early 1970s, they really are like a breaking point. And there's various letters. Desmond Briscoe, head of the workshop, he writes saying, I've got staff taking leave, sick leave, annual leave early. So the synthesizer really came in to kind of help with that and sort of speed things up. But also that means that there's a pressure, and there's an assumption that if you've got that synthesizer, so you should be able to turn around your commission a bit more quickly. And that's not her aesthetic.
It wasn't her, was it? No.
It was like to work and craft sounds and things. So I think that was a lot about, why the synths were. So that kind of pace and rhythm, and just seeing Delia slowly going her own way while the world is going at a different rhythm. It's a poetic, there's a truth to that image, but it's a poetic truth. So
it's a great way to actually come bang up to date. Obviously that happened this year. So, and let's hope next year or next few years there'll be something else, hopefully, that will spark information about Delia Derbyshire. It's just wonderful, isn't it?
There's honestly, there's so much more. There's so many more mysteries than there's. One of the longest myths is that after Delia left the BBC in 1973, she sort of just faded away, and a lot of people will tell you that she didn't do anything after 1973 or 1975. One of the most amazing discoveries in the archive was getting a donation from Polish-born artist Elizabeth Kosmian, who worked with Delia on a film in 1980, and she donated a 16mm copy of that film, and we've remastered it and spruced it up and shown that at cinemas around the UK. And that's incredible, because that's like 7 years after a lot of the standard accounts of her life tell you
that she stopped.
She stopped until Peter Kember, in the late 90s. So she's still full of surprises. I think there's more to discover.
Well, David, thanks. It's been brilliant chatting to you again. So hopefully people on the Puls8 Radio will really get to enjoy this discussion. What we're going to do now is go out with Delia Derbyshire and Blue Veils and Golden Sands.